Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. This is a really fun episode and I'm so excited to bring it to you guys. Lots going on. First I do want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. You guys are amazing and I really appreciate all of the support. You guys rock. So going into this episode, I do just want to point out that one of the factors is you can see my rank there, number 24 in the highest possible league currently. And, I really want to get top 10 going into this. I was really hoping that I can, maintain the momentum, hopefully get, even if I can just get top 20, I would love the title. I'd love something. So, that is absolutely one of the goals going into this match here.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have dreams.
Yeah, just as long as you don't believe in them too much.
So we are in Group 3. This is match 1, so the very first one. And I'm matched against a dude named Sentinel Borg, which is fun, I guess. It sounds kind of Star Trek-y, which I guess is okay. I have won all past 6 matches that I've had in this current Grand Arena Championship. So undefeated, still in the running, so to speak, to be able to go undefeated. Looking at my stats here, you can see that I actually have quite a few more Tier 7 relics than my opponent. He only has 3 of those. He does outnumber me by a huge margin on Tier 4 relics. You'll also note that my opponent does have quite a few Tier 6 relics and beats me in Tier 5 as well. So this is actually something to note because it comes up a little bit later. Looking at mods, my opponent and I are pretty close on mods. I have a slight advantage in the higher end mods, but he has better mods right in the middle there. We have the same number of Zetas. I do have more gear overall than my opponent, so that's great. And in terms of overall success, I do have my opponent beat on that a little bit at least. My opponent does have a ton of undersized wins, though. They like to go undersized, they like to be efficient, so this is going to be a really tricky match, I was pretty sure. So after scouting their Grand Arena history, which is a great tool, I advise everyone to use it if they can, my opponent placed exactly the same things as I was expecting. They were following the same patterns, which is great. It's nice to have that reliable, though you don't know if they're messing around in the back zones. You just don't know. That's one of the great and kind of scary things about the Grand Arena history. So one thing I do want to point out, though, is I did change to a full Night Sister squad. That's a direct change from my usual standard thing, and the reason for that is my opponent always put General Skywalker on defense, and that I looked at his roster and I was like, I don't think that there's any teams that they have that can actually beat my General Skywalker, except for maybe their Padme. They've used Padme in the past and lost, but taken out most of the team and been able to take out General Skywalker after that. And so I put my Night Sisters all together to make a kind of a super squad. They're all relict and everything. And they're in the front zone there. And the hope is that my opponent was going to use Padme to counter them. And in doing so, when they finally unlock the zone in the back, they won't have a squad that can actually challenge General Skywalker. So, that was a pretty big step in a different direction. But I guess we'll see how it pays off here.
It's called a hustle, sweetheart.
So one thing I like to do when I'm starting my Grand Arena matches is just look for the squads that I can use my B teams on. My B teams in this case are going to be my Trooper squad, my First Order squad, and maybe my Jedi Training Rey or Emperor Palpatine team. I need to use those somewhere. Those are important parts of it. So I decided to take Imperial Troopers against this Nute team. The only real threat here is a really low health and protection Count Dooku. And, I figured that if I can get some assists, that I would hopefully be able to just take him out without all these counters. As you can see, he's just countering anyways, and that was kind of a miscalculation on my end. And he had stunned enough people by the time that I got my big burst attack in that I didn't even kill him after that big burst. And so here I'm contemplating, what exactly should I be trying to do here? Who should I be trying to take out? And Then I realized that Dooku had daze on him, and I could just AoE him to my heart's content, and so that's what I did. I AoE'd him like crazy, and Droidica had charged up, and I got lucky that he targeted Snowtrooper, because Snowtrooper is my highest relic character, and he's probably my most resilient at this point, so that was nice. This fight almost went south really fast, so I got a little bit lucky there, 59 banners. I don't think that it was necessarily a bad idea. I think I probably should have just targeted Acolyte first or something, but as it stood, got my first win out of the way, got troopers out of the way, and now we need to figure out something that can take out this Old Republic team with L3, and once again I'm going to use one of my B teams here to take it out. I would like to use Emperor Palpatine here. There's feats involved, but I have other plans for Emperor Palpatine, as you will see in a little bit. So now, you know, this is pretty much the same match as standard Old Republic or, you know, Scoundrels, whatever. You need to break that taunt from L3. You need to be on the lookout for the taunt, the passive taunt by Zalbar. And you need to be dispelling things left and right, try to kill Vander Chewbacca eventually, first, usually. You know, the second he gets prepared, then this whole fight can really go south really fast. So, you know, we're just trying to get through these two really frustrating taunts from L3 and Zalbar. And, you know, we'll eventually get there. That does happen. It can be frustrating. You kind of ping pong back and forth between the two, but the whole time you're also making them ping pong back and forth between your First Order Stormtrooper and your Kylo Ren unmasked. You know, they're going to both be taunting at different times. So, you know, now we've got L3 stunned again. We don't want to do an AoE here. We just want to do single attacks, because the second we hit L3, she will dispel stun on herself, and everything will go to hell once again. We'll play ping pong some more. So now, you know, we're just totally ignoring L3. We love the AoE. I love the AoE. We, as in like the royal we. It's kind of a fun way to speak sometimes. You should try it. But we're avoiding the AoE on this team because L3, it loves it. She loves every minute of that AoE because, you know, we'll stun L3 and because she's annoying and we don't want to have to deal with her. But the second we hit her again, she just passively dispels debuffs on herself. And then if she doesn't have any debuffs herself, then she'll passively debuff or dispel debuffs on other characters on our team. And so, you know, we have to leave her for last, usually, because she's a pain to kill, and you can control her. You just have to kind of approach it a little bit differently. And here, you know, we're just kind of biding our time. I didn't want to kill her that fast anyways, because I still had a little bit of protection unregenerated. So 59 banners, that's something you live with. It's frustrating that these two teams only got me 59, but that's how it goes. In the back was the suspected General Skywalker, and then a really strong, like fully relic, high relic bounty hunter with Nest team, which is really scary, to be honest. But first, we need to deal with this top zone here, and there's a fully relict Night Sister squad, and they're all really well modded, and there's an exceptionally strong General Grievous squad here with Relic Wat. And if you guys watched my last video, I tried to use Jedi Knight Revan against that, and it was a complete fiasco. Only killed Wat, and it was just did not go well. So this is a counter that I've been studying and looking at quite a bit. You see that all of my characters are gear 12, except for Scion, who is only relic 1. And I'm going into this really high relic, really strong, really well modded and fast General Grievous squad. And so you see that Wat here has put the taunting tech on Magna Guard, and that means that Magna Guard can't have it dispelled. Like it'll just keep reappearing. So I have Thrawn go first. It's important that he goes first. He passes the turn meter to Traya. Traya then isolates Magna Guard. That is an important step to this counter here. Eventually, Scion goes next, and he dispels stealth from Grievous, which is also important. And then Thrawn can go one more time, and he fractures Grievous, so that Grievous just can't have a turn. You know, we want him to stop hitting us because he's the guy who kills us really fast. And now we're just waiting. We don't want to hit Grievous at all. We want to just hang tight. You know, we want Grievous to not take any turns. That means we also don't want to kill any characters. We put Shock onto B2 because B2 will constantly get turns over and over and over again if he is... if he doesn't have shock or something preventing him from taking turns. You see that Thrawn got totally blown away by that really tough B1. Like I said, really well modded. And so, you know, we're just waiting until we can get Annihilate off with Nihilus, and eventually that does occur. We want to make sure that we haven't been hitting Grievous, because the second we hit Grievous with anything that takes him below full protection, he's going to force a taunt on one of his droids, and the second that happens, then like, you can't target him for Annihilate, so you have to not hit him. You have to just hit other characters. And so now we're just hanging out. Emperor Palpatine got taken out, and this is actually a really painful part to watch, in fact, guys, just because all of these droids do out-relic me by quite a bit, and even though Traya and the rest are really good, you know, against a lot of different teams and, you know, groups, you just have to think, like, they're way outclassed in terms of overall hit points and, you know, just overall strength. And so one thing that, you know, you see my inexperience showing here, because, you know, these droids have their tech, all three techs got put out by Watt before I managed to take him out. And so Nihilus, or rather Scion, should right now just be, he should have used his ultimate ability or whatever, the recharge thing, because one of these droids has the tech to be able to just one-shot him, or rather prevent revives. So we should have used that ability. Instead, he's just like, I'm like, okay, I'll just wait until he dies, because he's going to die, and then he'll revive himself, and that'll be great, because then I'll just, you know, I'll just get the you know, use of that ability one more time. And then B1 has the tech to, you know, deny revives and killed Scion. So, you know, that's my inexperience showing through. That was absolutely a mistake. And, you know, that's going to happen when you when you haven't played a counter too much, and it's hard to practice. So one thing I do want to point out, Traya's saber throw actually takes out 3 stacks worth, or 3 hits worth of B1, which I know that probably that's old news to other people, but that's something I just hadn't really ever thought of. So it's just something to be thinking about. You know, the match is still basically pretty well in hand, but after losing Scion, like, I felt pretty nervous, and the clock is starting to tick down. It's, you know, we have over a minute left, and we only have one guy to kill, and when I had the chance, I just took him out. 49 banners here. It begs the question of, you know, just because we can do something, does it mean we actually should? And, you know, I don't really know yet. Honestly, 49 is pretty awful, though. So I really wanted to kill that Night Sisters team with Padme, but first I needed to make sure that I could take out that General Skywalker team in the back. So for that, I wanted to take my Commander Luke team. That was the intention. You know, look, I was planning on taking this team out. And so, you know, I know a lot of people get fancy and shoot Rex or ARC Trooper or something first with Han, but I've had by far the most success just targeting General Skywalker, getting his health down early. And, you know, we're just trying to topple him. This is actually a fairly fast topple. He's modded for offense instead of resilience, which is great. I love that. You know, he is well modded, but he's not necessarily the hardest to kill. This 5's is Relic 6 is all, and that's wonderful as well. He was easy to chew through. And now I typically just try to get rid of Rex, because Rex can give everyone turn meter. He can do his Annihilate move. It can really be bad. Then I take out ARC Trooper. ARC Trooper, actually, if I have a big burst attack, I'll take him out before I take Rex, just because he can also cause a lot of issues. He can dispel the buff on the taunt on Old Ben, which is something we don't want at all. And then I did manage to kill these clones in the first topple, which usually doesn't happen. So Old Ben went down, which is great. He has the Death Zeta, and now I've been saving my stun from Han Solo. I stunned him and was able to just take him out. So 54 banners, that is actually super efficient against that squad. And honestly, I was pretty happy at this point. I'd killed a couple really strong teams, trading up with squads that I had, so good to go. And now we needed to take out these Night Sisters who also have pretty decent relics, instead of trying to deal with the bounty hunters, which looked really unfun. The Night Sisters also looked really strong. The relic 4 on Spirit was really scary, and there's a feat that if you use Clone Sergeant to kill people, you can, you have to kill like 12 people with different Order 66 characters. So I was initially planning to take Clone Sergeant here, and I decided against that. I was afraid that Spirit was just going to one-shot him, frankly. The goal of taking him, though, would have been that I could kill 3 of these Night Sisters and then just have Clone Sergeant murder Zombie like 5 times in a row, or 12 times in a row even, if I had enough time. I just decided, like, right now, that against this team, there was just no time to play around. I needed to make sure I was going to get wins here, and, if I messed around and lost somehow, like, that would derail everything. And, feats are important, especially if you're trying, like I am, to try to get, top 20, top 10, whatever. But in the end, like, a guaranteed win is always going to be worth more. So, being smart, or wise at least, about when you're doing these things is important. So, you'll see that I have the 2 Togrutas here in the back zone. My Ahsoka and my Shakti are both pretty resilient. One thing I love about Ahsoka, though, she doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but first off, she never misses. She never misses her hits, and she always dispels as well, and she always assists when you do a special. And so, Zombie goes quite often in this composition, and, she takes a ton of turns because she's at like 500 speed or something crazy. But if you can just do a special, you have Ahsoka dispel her, and then, you're good to go. You don't actually have to worry about, getting through Zombie one more time and powering up Ahsoka. So you'll see that General Kenobi actually attacked Spirit there, and even though Spirit had Foresight, I was fine with that because a lot of the power that Spirit has is derived directly from Foresight. And so if you can dispel the Foresight before she gets a turn, she won't hit for nearly as much damage. And so now this would be the time that if I had the Clone Sergeant, I could just be butchering Zombie over and over and over again. I'd still have 3 minutes, but at the same time, like, I was pretty content with just taking the win here. This Night Sisters team maybe looked a little bit trivial to you guys, but that's just because I had a hard counter. Padme is a wonderful counter to this team, just super easy. So looking in the back zone here, there were Geonosians and a Rogue One team, which Rogue One is great. That's free banners, and, I was pretty jazzed about that. And to be clear, this was the first and only time I felt anything approaching affection from my opponent.
You kiss me tomorrow, I'll bite your face off.
Alright, so I had a decision to make. I had both Revans left, and I only needed to counter the Rogue One team, which wasn't that strong. I could take Darth Revan or Jedi Revan into Geonosians and or Bounty Hunters. Bounty Hunters looked like a really bad idea for my Jedi Revan team, just because guys can get one shot. So I decided to take Jedi Revan with Bastila lead against the Geonosians, and I think Bastila lead was an okay decision. Probably should have taken Revan here. My idea, though, was I just wanted to, get as many banners out of this match as possible. And here I made this huge error. I used Commander Luke to counter this squad quite a bit, and so I decided that I should just kill Geo Soldier right away. And so I did. That was cool. I liked that effect, but I should have marked and killed Brood Alpha. It would have taken a lot more than just that huge burst at the start to take him out, but that's what I should have done. And then I took out Brood, but then he was immediately respawned, and Then Jedi Revan just died. He got targeted. At this point, I'm going to go at 300% speed because the whole fight turns into a huge, awesome fiasco. And honestly, like, unless you guys enjoy watching Jolie just revive the whole team over and over again and then the team not doing anything, then, you know, I'm sure some of you sadists actually do enjoy that. And if you do, then probably just, I don't know, maybe watch more of my channel, because it seems like I do that sometimes. But honestly, this is a very winnable counter. This Geonosian team is not that strong. It's not heavily relicked. I've beat this team a lot of times with Jedi Revan, and the answer is always to target the Brood Alpha. I just, for some reason, targeted Geo Soldier. It was nice to have him dead, but there was no gain from that, really. Like, this squad doesn't really care about having Geo Soldier that much. And so you see Jolie revive the whole team. I was like, great, maybe I can make something happen. And then I couldn't, because they just get a ton of turn meter and they just kill your Jedi when they don't have all that extra bonus protection. And Jolie is like, he doesn't really care. Like, he can just withstand the barrage for a while. But, you know, time's ticking down. There's just no way I'm actually going to make anything happen. So, really dumb loss there. Would have been so nice to just kill that squad, but didn't happen. And so I decided, instead of jumping right back into it, that instead I would try my Darth Revan team here against the bounty hunters. And the goal here was, you know, I wanted to take my Revan team, but I would save Malak to hopefully be able to help against the Geonosians later on, and you guys will see that in a little bit. But honestly, this Revan team is really strong against bounty hunters. I mean, it's strong against every team. Honestly, that's the counter. The Jedi Revan team would have faced a lot of really strong execute hits. It would have been a lot closer, I think. You know, in hindsight, I think maybe I was giving a little too much respect to these bounty hunters, but honestly, you have to be so careful. One thing I do want to point out is that if this was a Bosk lead bounty hunter team, there was no way that I would have actually taken Darth Revan in here. I would have probably, in the end, just timed out, because all of my debuffs that I'm giving to myself from Darth Revan's lead directly heal, like they basically full heal this team every time I apply it. And so, like, you can time out legitimately against a bounty hunter team with Bosk lead. But it's Jango lead, and, you know, we're just doing stuff. I was trying to engineer things so that eventually I had someone at below 50% health, and once I did that, then Jango would have his death mark on him, and I could just kill him in one shot, which is exactly what happened. And now we're just trying to find a way to kill Enfys Nest before we time out, which, you know, it is pretty doable. I just got a one-shot hit with HK, 59 banners, just fine. And, you know, I got a little bit of shock off on these guys, so I got some of my feet worked out. So now we only have this one zone remaining, and it's time to take on these Geonosians. And this is an interesting part of this video, to be honest. So I did a bunch of research, and I looked at Jawas, and my Jawas, you can see they're all awful. Like, I don't even know which ones are the leaders by the way they look. You know, you can call me speciest, whatever, if you want. But the goal here, you know, I'm taking Chief Nebbit for his leadership. And then you need the Jawa Scavenger. You have to have Scavenger here, because he's the one who sets thermal detonators. Then Engineer, and I didn't know which one was better, Jawa or Dathcha, so I just kind of guessed. You guys can chime in. I was looking, eventually what I did, I looked at their speeds, and, you know, my Jawa just has some placeholder mods on him, apparently, so, and then what I did, here's the way it works. Like, every time the Geonosians hit one of the Jawas, Scavenger places 2 thermal detonators on all of them. And, you know, that's for each hit. And so you see, I needed to get lucky, but as long as they targeted someone who wasn't Scavenger right away, then they would all get their thermal detonators placed. And so they did kill someone else other than Scavenger, which was wonderful. And you can see that Spy is already just dead, Relic Force Spy. However, then they did target Scavenger. If I had gotten lucky and they had targeted either Engineer or, Chief Nebbit right away after that, they would have gotten a ton more thermals placed on them and would have probably just all exploded. But as it happened, they just killed Scavenger right away, and that was that. So we're going to speed this up in another really dramatically fast way. This is 350% speed, because all it is Malik just hitting them and being annoying. And he can't kill them on his own. They can't kill him. The reason I wanted to take Malik here was so that even if all the Jawas died, which was a foregone conclusion, all of those thermal detonators would have time to explode. And I think that the theory was great. Honestly, if I get a few more levels on my Jawas, that's all I really need. Like I need to get Scavenger up a little bit, and they can be like a backup Geonosian killer. So I did play this one out because Malik does have the chance at least to be able to take these guys out. You see that I got really close a couple times to killing a couple of these Geos. It just didn't happen. He has the right debuffs, they just take too many turns. And the Brute constantly taunting, and then Sunfax sometimes taunting, like it just throws everything off. And so, even though I'm losing, I decided to play it out because I'm also applying shock, and that's one of the feats, so we need to get shock applied. And eventually I did time out here, and I did kill their Spy at Relic Force, so that was cool. But that was basically it, and it was going to be really tough to shift this team at this point.
Well, he was right about one thing. I don't know when to quit.
Scorching sandstorm! You're dead, Bunny Bumpkin! 1,000-foot fall! Whoa! You're dead, Carrot Face! Frigid ice wall! You're dead, Farm Girl! Enormous criminal! You're dead, 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 dead!
Alright, so I was not going to get through that Geo squad, and at some point in the middle of all of that, I didn't want to interrupt the awesome montage. I did take out this Rogue One team because it was important, it was going to be free banners, and it might end up being the key to being able to beat this guy. So that's what I did here. And you can see I took a Carth team. It's kind of a hodgepodge. I didn't have too many teams remaining. The key ingredient here, though, of course, is Wampa. You just want to take Wampa here and protect him for as long as you can, because eventually he's going to ramp up his damage and kill the whole team. And, Rogue One, it can be problematic. They have great internal synergy. They don't do a ton of damage, though. They do most of their damage through debuffs and exposes, and that is problematic, of course, because none of my characters here are super strong, but I think we have a lot to offer against this squad. I did take 2 tanks, and Shore Trooper maybe wasn't the most inspired character to take, honestly. He's good, but he actually is extremely disadvantaged against all of these Rogue One guys because they have a lot of good abilities to counter Empire, frankly. And so maybe I should have brought a different character, but I did want the pre-taunt up, so not necessarily a bad choice here. One thing that you want to note against Rogue One teams, for those of you who haven't faced them, the one huge threat that they have, they have a couple, I guess, but one thing that you really need to be looking at is Jyn can revive her team. And if she does her AoE, and if she causes even one crit, then one of her team members can actually revive, and that's actually kind of a big deal, because you can spend a long time chewing through either K2 or Baze, and then immediately thereafter have them revive and still ticking. And if you're using a really bad team, then like your ability to kill Baze multiple times is going to be somewhat limited. Now you'll note that I'm only doing single attacks because all 3 of these characters can counter, and I don't want a mass counter. I just want Wampa to be the one killing all these guys. And so that's exactly what I'm doing. You see that Canderous did do his AoE, and he got hit. So not that wise to do that, but you know what you're gonna do. Sometimes you just want to use your abilities. So you know, now we're gonna try to kill Xaereth. It's just, you know, we're trying to reduce the number of banners we're losing, and it's just hard with this team. One of the reasons I did choose Carth, though, is they do have protection regen based off of damage over time, and, you know, we want that, obviously. Like, we want to get as many banners as we can, especially because we're not getting through the Geonosians, most likely, and, you know, we need as much efficiency as we can. So, you know, we're just slowly working our way through the team. You see it's taking over 3 minutes to kill it because all of my characters are kind of bad, but you know, in the end, 56 banners. That's even worse than the last time I fought Rogue One, so I need to stop bad-mouthing them. But in the end, I got 7 of their teams cleared, and you know, pretty soon after that, actually, my opponent started attacking, and you see they cleared the top zone pretty quick. They stumbled against my Nute squad, of all things, and you guys will see it. It's not that great, but they did clear that. And then the moment of truth was here, and it was like, can he take out General Skywalker? Like, you know, did I manage to get his Padme out before he got into that zone? And you know, the answer was yes. My ploy to use Night Sisters to draw out his Padme did work, because none of these clones are even touched at all. So awesome. Just destroyed him. My opponent did then trip up against my Jedi Training Rey team as well on defense in the bottom, which was great, and lots of fun. And you know, they of course did eventually get through it, but I managed to have a barely win against them. It was pretty marginal, but I will take it. And you see that Night Sisters are all back together. They got one shot, probably by Padme, is my guess. Then, you know, Jedi Revan took out my Grievous squad. I'm guessing that's what my opponent did in the past, which is another reason I stuck him there. Then Kira and Nest did their work and didn't do anything that we could see. But in the end, my General Skywalker, like, if you don't have something high end, you're not going to kill that squad with a ton of attempts, so don't even try. You know, and Jedi Training Rey once again got a defense, so that's pretty cool. And you know, so after I made my attacks, I messaged my opponent and I was like, hey, nice defense, like, I'm just curious when you're going to attack. And he didn't respond until after he attacked, and he just said like, oh, you're way stronger than me. He just made excuses. And so I was asking, like, are you interested in videos? And he didn't want to talk. And so I just kind of laughed it off, I guess. You know, it was, I won't lie, I still feel a little bit annoyed. Like, you know, I was prepared to be a good sport if I lost, and you know, he was unprepared to do anything of the sort. So anyways, a little bit of fun drama there to end the episode. And you know, we're still on the trail to being potentially undefeated. And you know, I want to make Kyber. It's exclusive again, so I need to be 10-2 at least. So another positive step in that direction. You know, 5 more matches to go. Without clearing that last zone, I was pretty sure, I am pretty sure I'm not going to make it into the top 10 now. I just don't think that's going to be possible. That's 180 banners that I missed, plus whatever I missed for not clearing that squad. So, you know, maybe we need to readjust our goals, but as it stands, like, I'm still fairly happy with where I'm at. I'm undefeated, and, you know, I'm still in the top, I don't know, 50-ish. I'm in contention for the top 50. So let's make that our goal, I guess. And, you know, if we can somehow snag a top 20 or top 10 appearance, then even better. Anyways, guys, I won't hold you much longer at all. So thank you guys all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails. Except against Geonosians. Damn it all.